The topic of Open Heaven Devotional July 16, 2025 is Obey God's Instructions. Memory verse. Proverbs 8 verse 10. Receive my instruction, and not silver, and knowledge rather than choice gold. Bible reading. 2 Kings 5 verse 1 to 14. Verse 1. Now Naaman, captain of the host of the king of Syria, was a great man with his master, and honorable, because by him the Lord had given deliverance unto Syria. He was also a mighty man in valor, but he was a leper. 2. And the Syrians had gone out by companies, and had brought away captive out of the land of Israel a little maid, and she waited on Naaman's wife. 3. And she said unto her mistress, Would God my Lord were with the prophet that is in Samaria, for he would recover him of his leprosy. 4. And one went in, and told his Lord, saying, Thus and thus said the maid that is of the land of Israel. 5. And the king of Syria said, Go, and I will send a letter unto the king of Israel. And he departed, and took with him 10 talents of silver, and 6,000 pieces of gold, and 10 changes of raiment. 6. And he brought the letter to the king of Israel, saying, Now when this letter is come unto thee, behold, I have therewith sent Naaman my servant to thee, that thou mayest recover him of his leprosy. 7. And it came to pass, when the king of Israel had read the letter, that he rent his clothes, and said, Am I God, to kill and to make alive, that this man doth send unto me to recover a man of his leprosy? Wherefore consider, I pray you, and see how he seeketh a quarrel against me. 8. And it was so, when Elisha the man of God had heard that the king of Israel had rent his clothes, that he sent to the king, saying, Wherefore hast thou rent thy clothes? Let him come now to me, and he shall know that there is a prophet in Israel. 9. So Naaman came with his horses and with his chariot, and stood at the door of the house of Elisha. 10. And Elisha sent a messenger unto him, saying, Go and wash in Jordan 7 times, and thy flesh shall come again to thee, and thou shalt be clean. 11. But Naaman was wroth, and went away, and said, Behold, I thought, he will surely come out to me, and stand, and call on the name of the Lord his God, and strike his hand over the place, and recover the leper. 12. Are not Abana and Pharpar, rivers of Damascus, better than all the waters of Israel? May I not wash in them, and be clean? So he turned and went away in a rage. 13. And his servants came near, and spake unto him, and said, My father, if the prophet had bid thee do some great thing, wouldest thou not have done it? How much rather then, when he said to thee, Wash, and be clean? 14. Then went he down, and dipped himself 7 times in Jordan, according to the saying of the man of God, and his flesh came again like unto the flesh of a little child, and he was clean. Message for today. In 2 Kings 4 verse 1 to 7. The widow of one of the sons of the prophets was in debt, and the creditors told her that they would take her children as slaves if she failed to pay the debt. She ran to Elisha for help, and the man of God gave her instructions that seemed foolish. He told her to borrow many empty vessels from her neighbors and pour from the little bottle of oil she had into them. Miraculously, all the empty vessels were filled with oil. A lot of times, God's instructions might seem not to make sense, but if you can just obey Him, you will experience a miracle. Many years ago, the General Superintendent of the RCCG, my father in the Lord, Paul Josiah Akendayomi, told all the church workers at a meeting that the church had a great need that must be met by the following week. He added that all the workers should close their accounts and bring the money in them to church the next Sunday. My wife and I obeyed. We closed our savings account and took the money to church. The following Sunday, Papa said that the need had been met and asked how many people had closed their accounts. I and my wife raised our hands, but when I looked around, no other hands were raised. I began to think to myself, it seems I have run mad in the name of religion. Then I heard God say, "Son, you are not mad. I am setting you up so that when I take you to the height I plan to take you, nobody will be able to accuse me of being partial." It is usually not convenient to obey God's instructions. However, if you dare to obey, you will enjoy unusual results. In today's Bible reading, Naaman, the Syrian, went to Elisha expecting a miracle. He expected the prophet to come outside and lay hands on him, but Elisha sent a messenger to him with a simple instruction: go to River Jordan and bathe 7 times. As long as he kept arguing with that instruction, he remained a leper. However, the moment he obeyed the instruction, he was healed, and his flesh became like that of a little child. Beloved, God is always willing to give you a miracle, but you must obey His instructions even when they seem foolish. Key point: obedience to God's instructions births tremendous miracles and breakthroughs. Bible in 1 year. Isaiah 4-8. Hymn 30. When we walk with the Lord. Commentary. Obey God's instructions. Obedience, especially when it defies logic, is the key that unlocks supernatural favor. Today's devotional, rich in biblical history and personal testimony, reminds us that God's instructions may not always make sense to the natural mind, but their power lies in trusting the one who gives them. Scriptural foundation. Proverbs 8 verse 10 urges us to value God's instruction above silver and gold. In a world that chases material wealth, this verse reframes true wisdom as priceless. The story of Naaman. 2 Kings 5 verse 1-14 captures the tension between human pride and divine simplicity. Naaman expected grandeur, but the instruction was humbling: dip 7 times in Jordan. Only when he surrendered did healing come. Testimonies of unusual obedience. The widow in 2 Kings 4 verse 1-7 was asked to pour a little oil into many vessels. Obedient to a seemingly irrational command, she experienced abundance. Pastor Adeboye's personal experience, closing his savings account at the instruction of his spiritual leader, illustrates the discomfort of obedience. And yet, it positioned him for divine elevation. These moments aren't about financial logic or ritual dramatics, they are about faith in action. The miracle isn't in the oil or the river, it's in the obedience. Why God's instructions may seem unreasonable. To humble our pride, Naaman had to let go of status to receive healing. To increase our dependence on God, Elisha didn't even meet Naaman face to face. The power wasn't in the prophet, it was in the obedience. To test our faith, the widow was told to act before she saw any sign of provision. Key lessons to take away. Obedience precedes miracles. God often responds after we obey, not before. Don't edit God's instructions. Delayed or partial obedience is still disobedience. Expect discomfort. True obedience